¿Vuestro verdadero padre?
Hola.
Mejor que ni te acerques, te puedes perder. Y mira lo que te he hecho.
Hola, fellow gods! We are tumbling down the rabbit hole to Guillermo del Toro's Dark Wonderland and the Spanish fantasy tale of Pan's Labyrinth.
Fauno, vuestro más humilde súbdito.
This film is a hidden gem for the fans of Grimm's fairy tales, as it promises a story of a little girl who came across a magical maze while being stuck in the violent aftermath of the Spanish Civil War of 1944. Del Toro has created a mesmerizing world where fantasy and reality have a mighty face-off, and we're making sure you get the front row seat to this brutal showdown. So hold on to your breath and remember not to get lost.
¿No te da vergüenza estar aquí abajo, comiéndote los bichitos?
The opening scene of the film brilliantly captures the darker undertones of the story, as our young lead is shown at the verge of death with only her short breaths to be heard along with someone humming to a beautifully haunting tune. With this tragic moment, the film takes us back and the story begins.
Subterráneo, donde no existe la mentira ni el dolor.
The narrator tells us how the princess of an underground world got lost on her trip to the earth and died, but her father, the king, waited for her soul to be reincarnated.
Y al correr de los años, murió. Sin embargo, su padre.
All the while, the scenery changes from underground ruins to Spanish countryside, where our young heroine, Ophelia, is seen reading a book while sitting in a car with her pregnant mother. Both of them are heading to their new home to meet Captain Vidal, Ophelia's stepfather, and a Spanish army officer. On their way, Ophelia comes across an insect which she believes is a fairy. Upon their arrival at the farmhouse, Ophelia follows the fairy to the labyrinth and meets Mercedes, her kind housekeeper.
Nada, un montón de piedras muy viejas que han estado siempre ahí.
The fantasy of Ophelia's discovery of the labyrinth is tied to her reality of meeting the captain, who turns out to be every bit of a nasty person.
15 minutos tarde.
Cinderella's stepmom has nothing on this guy. He is evil reincarnate.
Hazlo por mí.
And certainly not a father to Ophelia.
No es mi padre. El capitán no es mi padre.
Del Toro masterfully weaves a unique fairy tale against a backdrop of fascist oppression by the Spanish military. The captain plans to destroy the guerrilla troops hidden in the mountains. His sadistic display of power is quite disturbing to witness, and certainly not for the faint-hearted. Meanwhile, Ophelia meets a fawn in the labyrinth, who tells her that she has to complete 3 tasks before the full moon to prove that she is the lost princess of the underworld.
Es el libro de las encrucijadas.
The film is a cinematic gem when it comes to visual effects and cinematography. Del Toro creates a whole new world with magical beings that are hideous in appearance, but the innocent, imaginative outlook of Ophelia makes them fascinating to the audience. Things take a more interesting turn as Ophelia completes her first task successfully. Her mother's health becomes worse and she figures out that Mercedes is a part of the resistance.
Tú ayudas a los del monte, ¿verdad?
But promises to stay quiet about it. Then comes the lullaby that will haunt us for a while. Pan's Labyrinth marks Mexico's entry to the Academy Awards in 2006 for Best Film in Foreign Language category. It received 22 minutes of applause at Cannes Festival and a total of 3 Oscars, including Best Cinematography and Best Writing Original Screenplay for Del Toro. In an interview for IMDb, Del Toro confessed that he loves monsters, and most of his films revolve around hideous creatures and their interaction with humans. His classic horrors, like The Devil's Backbone and Crimson Peak, include ghosts and hideous creatures who help the human protagonist avoid grave situations. Similarly, Del Toro's Oscar-winning fantasy, The Shape of Water, tells the tale of a woman who falls in love with a monster. For Del Toro, humans are the real monsters. As Ophelia gears up for her second task, Mercedes and the captain's doctor, Ferrero, go to the forest to meet Mercedes' brother, who is the leader of the resistance. The parallels between fantasy and reality in this film keep the audience at the edge of their seats. Ophelia manages to succeed in her second task, but makes a mistake and barely escapes from the clutches of a child-eating monster. On the other hand, the rebels carry out a raid on Captain's pantry, but most of them get ruthlessly shot by the army. One unlucky rebel also gets caught alive and is later viciously tortured by the captain. The merciless conduct of the captain shows him to be an even bigger monster than those Ophelia encounters during her tasks.
Dios mío, ¿qué le han hecho? No mucho.
Del Toro reminds us that we are looking for monsters in the wrong place. They are not fictional, but everywhere around us. Things fall apart pretty quickly for Ophelia as the fawn abandons her and her mother dies in childbirth. She tries to run away with Mercedes, but the captain catches them red-handed.
Ophelia.
Mercedes is taken to the torture chamber, while Ophelia is locked away in the attic to be dealt with later. Where is her knight in shining armor? We mean the fawn with the big horns. The climax of the film is literally explosive and quite a cryfest. To our immense pleasure, Mercedes manages to flee away from the torture chamber after giving Captain Vidal the face carving he rightfully deserves. To Vishika, the fawn returns and tells Ophelia to bring her newly born brother to the Labyrinth, warning that it is the only way she can return to her kingdom now. The real action begins as the captain is told that most of his men were slaughtered by the guerrilla troops, which are on their way to attack his farmhouse now.
¿Cuántos hombres quedan en el campamento?
20, quizá menos, señor.
The captain's cut cheek is bone-chilling, making him look like another great villain. And his next act is even more terrifying as he chases after Ophelia down to the labyrinth with a gun in hand. As the farmhouse goes ablaze with gunfire and bombs, Ophelia rejects the offer of the fawn to spill the blood of her infant brother to open the portal to her kingdom.
Entregadme al niño.
While Ophelia is talking to the fawn, the captain sneaks upon her, snatches away his son, and shoots her in cold blood. The scene is visually stunning in its graphic violence as we see Ophelia falling down. So what becomes of the real monster? Well, the captain finds the whole resistance waiting for him at the exit of the labyrinth.
Decidle a qué hora murió su padre.
Ni siquiera sabrá tu nombre.
And justice is thoroughly served. The last scene of the film again takes it to the pinnacle of cinematic excellence as Mercedes finds Ophelia bleeding to death. Ophelia takes her last breaths and is shown the vision of her brightly lit place, where she is welcomed by her father, the king, the fawn, and her dead mother. Ophelia dies while saving an innocent life, so she is rewarded with a family reunion. But was it all true? Or was it just Ophelia's imagination that helped her escape the brutal reality of war, her longing for her dead father, and the tyranny of the monstrous captain? In Pan's Labyrinth, monsters are real, and not every fairy tale has a happy ending. But will you be willing to escape reality, even if the fantasy is short-lived? Gracias, amigos. Until next time.